Hi, it's Kirby Summers, and I welcome you to my true crime podcast. Hey, I want to thank those of you who listened to the last two podcasts that I uploaded regarding my new series, Deconstructing Wexner. I want to kind of give you a synopsis and let you know what's going on as I work on this new series. Before I get started, do me a favor and like the podcast. The way the algorithm works is that anything that has a lot of likes is then shown to an audience that is looking for information on this topic. And as you and I both know, not a lot has been really discussed truthfully about Leslie Wexner and his past. Being that I have been collecting information on Wexner for, let me see, decades, frankly, and I have dug into not just his parents, as you know, would be expected if I'm doing a deep dive on the man that we all know as Leslie Wexner, Jeffrey Epstein's main benefactor. I also go a little further and I explore things that most people haven't even noticed. And if they have noticed, they're not ever going to write about it. So here's the thing. In my last podcast, you can tell how drained writing this, tweaking it, editing it. And frankly, I just went back to Substack and I did a final edit on the piece that I published Sunday morning. Because I got a fever, I got a sore throat, I took a lot of vitamin C. I went back to bed for many hours. You can still basically tell that my voice is not the same. I'm, recuperating. And I'll tell you, writing about evil takes a toll on anyone. I happen to be a very strong person. I've withstood a lot of things, but part one of Deconstructing Wexner goes straight for the jugular. I expose something that has been kept secret within the mainstream media narrative of Jeffrey Epstein, who, if you've been paying attention, you realize was a front for something else. And frankly, that something else is a lot more sinister than A, working for Intel, B, being connected to the mob, and C, as horrible as the trafficking of children and marginalized adults is, and that's just a horrible thing. This story is much darker because we don't begin this story post-World War II. We don't even begin it post the American Revolution. This story really has its origins in ancient times. There is a belief within certain members of a certain religious belief, which is not really even religious. It is based on politics. It's based on magic. It's based on old rituals. The sort of rituals that people write about as it pertains to Bohemian Grove. In every generation, there is one person who embodies a certain person that is worshipped at Bohemian Grove. And in our generation, after the exposure of the Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell story, that person really is the owner of the corporation once known as The Limited. I explain how in Jeffrey Epstein's home, he had a very mysterious portrait that was painted actually by someone who went to the New York Academy of Art, where, please remember, Epstein was part of the board. He was a member of the board. It was connected to then Prince Charles, also Prince Andrew. These characters did not randomly come together. These people came together in previous generations, and we're only seeing the most recent incarnation of evil. One of the people that I found related to Wexner, hey, guess what? He was part of what we call La Cosa Nostra. He was thrown into jail many times. So I think for those of you who have read it, are going to read it, or are going to become members of my Substack, you're going to be very happy to see that one Wexner was repeatedly jailed. You know, we're never going to see Leslie Wexner put in jail, but we can have a little vicarious thrill by seeing that someone very close to Wexner, frankly, was thrown into jail many times. I describe who this person is in detail. He also had 3 wives, all of which died mysteriously. He was said to have a really bad temper, and so some people suspect foul play. You know, again, I've been pulling at the Wexner thread for a very long time. And among the things I discovered is, well, I mean, almost a lot of women do this, but few men lie about their age. Wexner has lied about his age. I found proof. I include receipts in my new series, Deconstructing Wexner, and you will see how even Wexner has fibbed. You know what? He's fibbed so much. It's not just about his age. It's about even when he arrives in Ohio. It's about everything. He never stopped being in communication with Jeffrey Epstein, as he has claimed repeatedly. And once you read the series, the entire series, which will be many installments, this is just installment 1, which I tried to include as much information in as I possibly could. You'll see how he's gone out of his way to create, like a magician, like literally like a magician, create a different backstory, a backstory that has little, if nothing, to do with the truth. A backstory that when you compare it to the information that we've obtained about Jeffrey Epstein, who again was only a front man, you'll come to the understanding that Wexner was not a victim of blackmail. I'm not going to say more than that at this point, but you will see that very clearly that he is not a victim of blackmail, despite the clutching of pearls and all of the statements that he made. There are a lot of buildings, as you probably have heard, in Ohio, where the name Wexner is prominently displayed. He has worked really hard to create this facade around him, one that, clearly the folks at mainstream media are happy to sort of repeat ad nauseum for the gullible public, which I'm going to have to call normies. You and I are not normies. We're like uber plugged into this, to the fact that, hey, let's look to see if this is consistent with that. Let's see if this is the truth. Hey, what does this mean? We ask questions. We dive deeper. Well, my deep dive in my new series, Deconstructing Wexner, shatters the Wexner myth 100%. I'm super proud of this series. And yeah, it took its toll on me. It's taking its toll on me. It is super stressful to live in their world, to write about their world, to see how evil they are. And I really hope that you can read between the lines, because even what I have said so far is just a very thin layer of what you're going to see in the work that I produce for you. And I pause because while I refer to Wexner as a master magician, he's much more than that. Somebody like Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and I'm going to go and say Glenn Dubin, Eva Dubin, these people that were really close to him, they had another name for him. One that I can't really say on this platform. But I can say that it's associated with a place in San Francisco inside a very wooded area. And those of you who have read a lot of my work will understand what I mean. We know there have been some allegations against him made by the very outspoken Virginia Giuffre in court documents. We know there have been rumors about him in his native Ohio, which frankly is really not his native Ohio. He lived in other places for a very long time before ever setting foot in Ohio. But if you look at anything that has been put out by his public relations machine, all you're going to see is a series of lies. Well, I've shattered these lies, and I plan to continue shattering these lies until the truth is out. I have, in the 4.5 years that I have been sharing information that either I personally know because of my connection to the person I write about in my memoir, The Billionaire's Woman, which you can find either on my website or on Amazon. So I write about things that I know firsthand, or I write about things that I've been discovering over the last couple of decades as I've been searching for clues that I needed to sort of like wrap up the mystery of my own life and why certain things happened and continued to happen. Wexner is very much a part of the mystery. And the historical context of what lays beneath the surface of the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell case needs to be revealed. Everyone has been clamoring for, what, over a decade, ever since he was first arrested. Well, he first came into sort of the purview of the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office in January of 2005. He wasn't charged necessarily until 2007, at which point you all know that Alexander Acosta, who was promoted by Donald Trump into becoming the labor secretary in charge of what? Human trafficking, right? Yeah. Only the bad people, only the people who follow the orders get these promotions. And by the way, Epstein didn't even begin his minuscule 13-month sentence after he was given the non-prosecution agreement, which included a blanket removal of any penalty for persons either named or unnamed, persons known or unknown. This sort of agreement had never been seen before in the history of the law. I remember staying in touch with a bunch of lawyers at the time that I discovered the information about Epstein's non-prosecution agreement. And these lawyers were going back and forth on this forum just for attorneys, talking about not only the unconstitutionality of this, but talking about how it had never happened before. Nothing like it had ever happened before. That is why I have always said that it is really uber important that we have been given a window into a world that's never been seen before. And I am not just talking about an intelligence agent or asset. I am talking about something which, frankly, is much darker. Okay? Gosh. You know what? Even giving you a quick synopsis, and I'm trying to just be careful because it's a subject one has to be careful about. But there have been slips from certain victims about what really transpired. And I have been the only person, I repeat, I have been the only person, and correct me if I'm wrong, to say that the Epstein trafficking ring is connected to the Franklin scandal, is connected to the Presidio case, is connected to the Finders, it's connected to the one in, well, I can't name her because then you'll all know what I'm talking about, but it's connected to others in other countries, even to Jimmy Savile, to be frank. These are all branches of the same tree, as I refer to it time and time again. I don't understand why other people who have worked on these separate, what they say are separate rings, don't see the fact that they're so similar, that they belong in one category, and that they spring from the same type of evil. And I need to call it evil because that's what it is. It's difficult to talk about this. As I said, it's draining. I'm fighting a cold. I don't know if it's a cold or I'm just exhausted. As you know, I rarely take any time off. If I'm not researching, I'm writing. You know, too much knowledge is never enough. There's always something new to learn, someone new to interview. And of course, I'm always bombarded by people who want to send me in the wrong direction, which, I've learned to sniff these people out. They don't get a lot with me. They don't get very far with me. I want to thank those of you who became members of my Substack, following my initial announcement of my Deconstructing Wexner series. I want to thank those of you who took the time to leave a comment on perhaps one of the more important series that I have published to date. And I have been publishing articles and series even before Epstein was arrested. And I want to again thank those of you who follow me here on YouTube, who are kind enough to smash the like button, who subscribe to stay in touch with what's going on so that I can give you an update. Because this is where I come to tell you everything. Even when I'm not feeling great, I come here and I share that with you. You're part of my extended family, and I appreciate you. All right, guys, you have a good day. Talk soon. Bye.